Hi, Honors Bowls. We hope you are having a great summer B semester or are starting to feel ready to get back for fall. On this week's episode, we are going back to a conversation we had last spring with honor student Daelyn Quinn on her experience at USF as a National Merit Scholar. Enjoy!
Hey Honors Bowls, welcome to the Honor Roll Podcast, the flagship podcast of the Judy Genshaft Honors College Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mridula Singh, a fourth-year student studying biomedical sciences and psychology at the University of South Florida Tampa campus, and I'm also a member of the Honors College. Today, my co-host is Ari Herrera, a fourth-year student studying English and psychology. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ari?
Sure. First, I'm really excited to be here. My name is Ari Herrera. I am a double major in psych and English creative writing. I write poetry, and I'm going to grad school in the fall at Rutgers.
That's exciting. That actually ties really well into our one big question of the week. So my question this week is about mentorship. Did you find a mentor in these past 4 years that you really connected with?
Well, I'm lucky because I've had a few in my time at USF. More recently, I've prepped for grad school, and two of my creative writing professors actually guided me through that whole process, from reviewing my statement of purpose to reviewing my creative portfolio. So I really appreciated them for that. They were my past creative writing professors for eco-poetry, Dr. Robbins, and the Humanities Institute director, Liz Kisak. So shout out to them. And what about you, Mridula?
Yeah, I actually have had a few as well, quite a few in research, but I would say the best mentors that I found were in this past year working here at the Honors College, whether it be just like passing in the elevators or just having advice. Someone like Dr. Cross, Dana, of course, or Dr. Davidson, they all have kind of contributed to what I want to go into and given me a new perspective to what I'm looking at in terms of like my career and my goals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to explore mentorship, academic achievement, Phi Beta Kappa, National Merit Scholars, and more today with Daelyn Quinn, coming up next.
Hi, my name is Ethan Joseph. I'm a third-year biomedical sciences student at the Judy Genshaft Honors College. My favorite Honors College memory was a time we discussed climate change policies in Dr. Hargrove's class, where I basically got to discuss the problems I have with some of our climate change policies, that they're not actually that green, and that they just look to be green, but it's mainly beneficial, like fiscally, for the people who are promoting it. And we got into such a good conversation where it also opened up other people's minds. I think that was one of the best times that I had here.
Welcome, Daelyn. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about your academic journey here at USF?
Sure. My name is Daelyn Quinn, and I'm graduating in, since we're recording, 1 week from today. So I'm super excited about that. And I have done all 4 years here at USF and in the Honors College, and I've been a National Merit Scholar. And I'm excited to start the next chapter as well.
So, Daelyn, what motivated you to join the Honors College here at USF?
So I wanted to start with the Honors College, and I applied and wrote this whole essay about, I think, my endeavors to travel or something like that. But I didn't realize at that point that National Merit Scholars already automatically got admitted to the Honors College. So the essay was just for fun, I guess, on top of all of the other school essays that I was writing. But I knew that joining the Honors College was going to give me likely a more well-rounded experience and just closer connections with professors, which I definitely found to be true.
Yeah, and you mentioned the National Merit Scholars. Can you tell us a little bit about, what it's meant to be an MS student here at the Honors College?
Mm-hmm. So being a National Merit here is, quite frankly, it's the reason I came here. I got a random email, I think in maybe September of my senior year of high school, that, USF gives a full ride to National Merit. And I was like, oh, so this probably going here. Okay, got it. And I applied and came down here to visit in January, and it ended up being a great fit. And I think the greatest thing about being National Merit, it's really like a gift of time and just being able to go through your journey without the financial pressures. And really, I feel so rewarded, and like all of my hard work from high school has really paid off, and I can continue to build upon that in different ways, not just like, okay, I have to get a job to like support myself through my school, which I definitely have done as well, but it's given me like more flexibility to do research that was unpaid or more volunteer experience. And then also working one-on-one with our advisor, Audra, has been one of the best experiences as well, just having that closer connection for our program specifically.
So you spoke a bit about the impact of the NMS community throughout your undergrad, but can you tell us a little bit about the events and socials that NMS holds and the impact that they had on you?
I think the events, one that specifically comes to mind is the National Merit Banquet, and I've spoken at 3 of them, maybe.
Oh, wow.
So people were probably tired of hearing me, but I try to switch it up every year. So hopefully it wasn't too much of a drag for the repeat customers. But I think as far as the banquet goes, is really seeing the Honors College staff would come in and support us and be there, and get to hear experiences from my peers, who we all have, even in the same program, have different journeys. And we're all, a lot of us might be like biomed. I mean, I'm cell and molecular biology, world language. But getting to meet National Merit from different majors and people I don't have classes with, and seeing that program as well. And other socials, I remember going to one of the game nights that we had. It was just like really laid back. I love like word games. And so I think it was called Bongo maybe or something.
Yeah.
You like shake up and you have to like try to find the words in these like random letters. So I was playing it with a couple guys, and it was really fun, just like very low key. Let's get to know each other in a way that's not like about what's your major, what year are you, like how many credits do you have, where are you going after this, like that gets old.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's like that sense of mentorship, and I've like attended one of the banquets. I have heard you speak, and it was a really good speech. So I'm sure they're not tired of it. But how do you feel like you were able to kind of connect with the freshmen, or what's like the advice that you would give to upcoming freshmen that are going into the NMS programs in terms of like getting involved specifically with, the community that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. I would say definitely take advantage of it. Take advantage of, being able to work with an advisor who is really invested with you, and like really dive into that. Take advantage of getting to know people from different disciplines, getting to work closely with professors in the Honors College. And I think as well is one thing that I've tried to do is kind of look forward is like mentorship opportunities, because you're like in this kind of small group of people, and like from freshman to senior, you get to meet a few. So Audra set up a program for like mentorship, but then also just kind of casually on the side, I've helped students. After a banquet, a couple of people came up to me and were like, you really struggled trying to get the study abroad process going, like, can you help me? And that's been something that I've been able to do, like unofficially, like advise on Teams meetings, advising them. Because, it would have been really great for me to have heard someone who's like specifically went to my program or knew like how to do the visa. Like I had no idea how to do any of that. So that's been something that I've been trying to look forward to, like mentoring other students in the National Merit as well.
So as we know, the Honors College has many opportunities to find mentors, as you just mentioned. Are there any professors who you feel impacted the course of your career?
I took ethics at the end of life with Dr. Davidson, I believe my sophomore year in the fall. And Dr. Davidson ended up writing a letter of recommendation for me for medical school. And we've like sort of stayed in touch since that first semester, because I ended up doing my project for that course was in pediatric palliative care, and talking about how can we give kids who are minors still like a say in what medical care they receive in terminal cases. And that's something that she's done extensive research on and has experience with. So I got a lot of helpful feedback from her as I was developing that project and writing papers and doing the poster draft and everything. And then I ended up having the opportunity to present that research at the USF Humanities College in the following January. And then my next course in the Honors College was about social determinants of health. I forget the name. And I expanded on that project by doing like a poetry collection. And so, again, like the humanities side of it. So I felt like I stuck with that project for a while. And then I presented at the Johns Hopkins Maxey Symposium in April, and then that was published. So later in the year, in September or November, I believe, 2022. So getting to kind of work with her alongside that journey, and I felt like she got to get to know me as well, and getting to know her experience was really great. And as well as I took my freshman year in the spring a course about Ghana and equities in Ghana, I believe, and that's with Dr. Elizabeth Dune, and she was great. She's been to Ghana and connected us with mentors in Ghana and taught us about the culture and what it's like to converse with people in that country and what they value. So I feel like, we did our project about public health and chronic diseases, but I feel like I learned so much about service learning is not just about going in and doing a project. It's about what do these people need from their perspective. Like, it's not about what you think that they need. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are they telling you, like, how you can help? And so that's something that has really stuck with me that I learned from her. And I've had the chance to go back and speak in her classes about my own project to like sort of give some inspiration to the people who are developing their ideas and whatnot, giving them advice when the mentors and everything. So that's been really awesome to stay in touch with her as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like as someone in medicine, it's really easy to get locked into that perspective of like, this is what STEM looks like and this is what research looks like. And I feel like these courses all give such good perspective into like, this is what it holistically looks like and this is what it looks like applied to the real world. And so kind of going off of that, how do you like, or what is some advice that you would give to upcoming students in terms of like, how to pick classes or like, just coming in and like choosing all these things and navigating that kind of process? Because something that you could be working on for a year or 2 years is a little intimidating to look at. But do you have any advice on how you chose those classes or just kind of?
I chose based on what I was interested in. So like I kind of wanted to do something in the health sphere of it. But at the same time, like right now I'm taking immunology, cancer bio, human genetics. I also really love like having a well-rounded schedule. And so I have this other major of world languages. So I'm also taking linguistics and world cultures and learning about what it means to talk with people at different cultures and communicate in different ways. And I think that's super important. Like in high school, my favorite class was art history. And it's like this random thing that has like also helped me when I'm working in STEM. So I think it's really important to kind of diversify yourself, because even if you come in with this one idea of what you're going to be doing, a lot can change. And the greatest thing that I have loved about college is definitely the opportunity just to explore. Because you change so much as a person in these 4 years, and your interests change, and you learn about things that you never would have even known existed, as far as like could be a new career or just an idea for how you could do a career differently than other people have. And like, what can you bring to the table that you are passionate about? So I think in picking classes, it also I did consider like, what time is this class? And is this going to fit in my schedule? And am I going to is it going to work out well? Yes. But also take something that you're interested in and take something maybe that you wouldn't normally take, but is like, oh, this could be cool. Do it.
And I think that's what's so special about the Honors College is that it fosters this like interdisciplinary investigation into other disciplines that you maybe wouldn't have ever explored otherwise. And I think that's special because it's pretty common in our community. So speaking of community and getting involved with various social groups, orgs, can you tell us about your experience here as an honors student and your involvement?
In my first couple years, well, first I started in peak pandemic, so the student org life was a little bit, but still didn't know what that was after a whole semester of trying to like get involved. And I think it definitely is a great way to meet people and, get to know, what other people are interested in as well, get to meet like-minded people. For me specifically, I think I focus more on like the community aspect and like I've found myself being off campus or a lot more than being involved specifically on campus with other students. But I was able to do research at the Shriners Genomics Institute, which is on campus as well. It's in the USF Research Park over on the other side of campus. And so that was an experience and it was great, but I think the biggest takeaway that I learned was that I probably didn't want to do research. So after a whole year, it seems like, and things like that are super important. Like it may seem that, I spent a whole year doing research articles and cleaning lab machinery for nothing. But in fact, it was like really, really important because I knew I probably didn't want to spend any more time doing that.
Hi, my name is Sophia Nobles, and I'm a third-year marketing student at the Judy Genshaft Honors College. My favorite honors memory is participating in the Grand Challenge in my freshman year. The Grand Challenge is a competition for honors students to solve a problem that the campus faces. For my year, we were looking at sustainability and disability and finding a project that combines both of them. I loved working with my peers from all different majors. We had an engineer on our team as well as someone in the biomedical sciences. And so putting all of those majors and perspectives together led to a really beautiful project, which was hydroponic gardens for dorm room kitchens.
Is there like a point that you got to in your 4 years where you kind of pivoted off of what you thought you were going into, or as you said, mentioned with research, was there something that like, with your major that you kind of like thought you were going down this straight path and like, you had to pivot and like, what was it? What did that look like or what did that feel like?
Yeah, I would say that for a long time, I thought that I was probably wanted to be a doctor. And, from when I was in middle school, I would say that interest kind of started when my mother's friend had cancer and I kind of got to see her journey. But what's interesting about that is it wasn't like a traditional medical doctor. It was actually like a holistic integrative medicine type. That's where my interest started. And then along the way, I go into college and I'm like, wow, surgery is so cool. Like, I want to do that. I'm very can be like kind of intense and high paced and I love the pressure. And so that was kind of what goal I was going for. And then last spring, it's time to apply for that because you apply like a year before you graduate essentially. And I was like, I don't think this, I kept having these like little moments of like, let's like rewind a little bit. Let's rewind. And so I just kind of like paused and I reached out to Dr. Davidson as well. And I was like, I know like, my interests and like we've had the chance to work together. Like, do you have any advice? I'm just kind of exploring. And I got to talk with her, talked about some interests. At the moment, I was reading like about psychology and how trauma impacts the way that we behave and impacts us physically. And that was so fascinating. So I'm like, maybe, I want to do more of like psychology side. And Dr. Davidson connected me with another professor on campus, Dr. Gum, and she works as a psychologist and does research as well. And talking to her, she helped me to realize that my passion was really the connection of all of those things. So like your physical health, but also the mental aspect of it and psychology and learning about how our lifestyles and who raises us, and all of these different factors affect us physically. And so that's when I decided to kind of go back to that like holistic integrative medicine. And so now in September, I'm starting naturopathic medical school
Oh my God.
in Arizona.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know what that is, but there are 5 programs in the country. And essentially, the best way that I feel like I can explain the actual curriculum of it is I will learn everything that a traditional, quote unquote, traditional medical doctor will learn, but I also will do more extensive training like nutrition and hydrotherapy and herbs and supplements and all of these other therapies that I still don't know that much about. And so learning how to bring medical care that is like preventative and also looks at the whole person rather than just, prescribing a drug or spending 15 minutes with the patient. And that was what was really important to me. So that was definitely a shift that happened last year. Still medical, but a shift of, I think, my values as well.
Yeah, no, and that's like a really niche area of medicine. And I think it's really hard to find. I'm kind of in a similar place right now, and I'm taking 2 gap years. And I feel like it's really hard to find someone who can kind of guide you to exactly where you need to be because you don't know all of you said there's 5 programs in the country, which is like, something that you wouldn't just know by a Google search. So you need like the mentors. So kind of just going off of that, how did you go about approaching Dr. Davidson when you were asking for advice and like asking for her to connect you to other doctors? Like, is there anything that like you either wish you did differently or did earlier, or just kind of advice for people reaching out to their professors?
Well, I think that things like that, like Dr. Gum didn't show me like do the naturopathic program. It was like she like inspired me to look at this issue that I was having differently. And I think it's like people guide and influence us through our own journeys. We're constantly being influenced by other people and inspired by other people. And that's what I love about, you just kind of have to go through and allow, like, can't rush life. Like, it has to run its course, and eventually you'll get to the place that, like, I know without a doubt, like, this chapter for me is ending as I graduate, but it's like I feel so certain of myself, like, it's like time for the next one. Like, I'm grateful for my time here, but it's like that sadness hasn't really hit yet because it's like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and then like that's next. So that's been awesome. But definitely reaching out to professors, like they really do want to help you and want to be there for you. And not only is it their job, but most of them it's genuinely what they want to do. It's genuinely their passion. So, Dr. Davidson was so gracious to, schedule a meeting with me after just an email that I sent her. I think we had some correspondence back and forth, and I was like, by the way, here's where I'm at, because they really are willing to meet you where you're at, and they've had their own journeys as well. In one of my classes for cancer biology, we've had guest speakers come in, and each one, is in a different specialty of cancer oncology, but they've also had their journeys before that. So we had one that was a professional, like, violin player or cello player, I think. And he talked about how that actually influenced why he wanted to suddenly switch to oncology when he was like mid-30s, I think.
Yeah.
So, you come across these different things at different points in your life that you wouldn't have recognized earlier. So it's not necessarily like I felt like I needed to do something earlier or sooner or better. I just think that sometimes life kind of leads you where you need to go. And definitely was the case for me.
I definitely agree.
Very grateful for the amount of mentorship that I've had here at the Honors College. And I think that's something that graduates take away from that experience. And I don't know if you ever really know what piece of advice will be useful to you in the moment, but it does make a difference reflecting now, almost graduating as well. So pivoting into another really influential experience you had here at USF, you were part of Phi Beta Kappa. Can you tell us a bit more about what that organization is and how it helped you?
I actually have kind of a funny story about this because, quite honestly, I don't really know the full extent of how prestigious that this is or what the qualifications are, because I had no idea that I was getting it. And last spring, I kept getting these emails from Dr. Adams, and I just, you get emails from like scholar societies. They want you to pay like $75 to be a part of it, and it's not my jam. I'm not cool. Like, I know I did these things. I think that's great. I don't want to pay to be a part of your honor society.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Other people might. It's not me. And so I kept getting these emails from him like repeatedly, and I'm just like, oh, this is just like a mass thing. Delete. Read most of them, at least partially. Delete. They started coming with like red exclamation marks, important. Delete. The deadline's coming up, whatever. And so we're at the National Merit Banquet, and I had just finished speaking, and I sat down. I think we were starting dinner maybe, and I just have this like little tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Dr. Dean Adams.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, normally in those, I kind of like give speeches off the cuff. And so sometimes I'm like, ooh, did I say y'all too many times? Or like I probably said something that was a little bit maybe too off the cuff. I don't know. But he was like, have you been getting my emails that I've been sending you? And I reached for my phone as if I didn't remember that I've been getting like 10 emails from him, and I knew they were in my trash. So what am I supposed to do? Like open up my trash in front of Dean Adams and be like, oh yeah, these? And I was like, oh, so what was it about? He was like, well, it's about Phi Beta Kappa, and it's this really important honor society, and USF is paying for your admission because that is how much we value USF students being in this program. And they talked more about it later at the banquet. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is really cool. I should do that. The other people at my table were like, I've been trying to get into that. And like, I was like, what did I do to do this?
Yeah.
And so learning about like the language requirements, and, I'm studying Spanish. And I think also one of the main things for that is kind of like that interdisciplinary approach, right, that I love. And so that is how I came to know what Phi Beta Kappa was. And that day was actually my birthday. And so after the banquet, I was going to dinner with friends. And I went in and I was just like, guys, I think I just did the pretty cool thing. Like, I had no idea. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, I honestly really don't know. But it's very important, apparently. And it will help me, I think. And it's been great.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And so now that we kind of are approaching the end of our episode today, we're going to do a little thing called the rapid fire section. So we'll start off with just some fun questions, and you can just say whatever comes to mind.
So what has been your best experience here at the Honors College?
Probably either getting published from the research that I've done in the Johns Hopkins Maxey Journal, or working with the National Merit Advisor, Audra. Sometimes I make an appointment with her every semester, and I go in and she's like, well, what do you need? I was like, I don't really need anything. I just like, she's really fun to talk to, and I can tell she really cares about what I'm doing and what I'm interested. So anytime I have like a new update, I'll like go in and we'll talk for an hour about like holistic medicine or things that we're both interested in, what books we're reading, podcasts. So that has been really enjoyable as well.
Well, I hope we make your list on the podcast. But also, I'm not an NMS scholar, and I always have extensive conversations with Audra, so I completely understand that.
She's very kind.
I was just going to mention the Humanities Institute sponsoring the scholars who went to the Maxey Symposium. I participated in that 2 years ago, and I met some really awesome interdisciplinary scholars. So definitely also a highlight of my USF experience.
That's great.
So you mentioned books. What's your favorite book genre?
Oh, I love historical fiction.
Do you have like a favorite one that you would recommend to other people?
The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. It's like World War II, several heroines in the story. It's great.
Okay, and then what was your favorite class here at the Honors College?
Probably ethics at the end of life with Dr. Davidson.
And then go-to relaxation activity or hobby?
Reading. I would probably read like 2 or 3 books a week. I don't know how
That's
long
really
that will
impressive.
last into
Wow.
medical school, but that is how I like wind down at night
That is really impressive.
or in the middle of the day when I need a break. Yeah.
Well-
Reading stresses me out.
Mhm. Honestly, it stresses me out too, but I like to write. Daelyn, you mentioned that you were writing before for one of your classes, and you actually wrote poetry. Are you still writing?
I wouldn't call myself a writer.
Mhm.
For that class, yes, I did write some poetry. It is not an academic like it doesn't really rhyme, and it
Mhm.
didn't really have the iambic pentameter thing. It was just like poetic thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
which is a valid form of
Mhm.
poetry in its own right. But I don't really write beyond that.
That's funny. Midwest or Florida?
Midwest. I will always be a Midwest girly. Yeah.
Like, not beaches. Beaches don't appeal.
Beaches are great, but there's something about growing up in the Midwest.
No, definitely.
That's valid.
All right, just to wrap up, our last, I guess, question is: what are your future aspirations? What are you looking at to go into?
So September, I start naturopathic medical school in Tempe, Arizona at Sonora University of Health Sciences. And I'll be there for 4 years, hopefully do residency after that. And I would love to work and focus more on like community health practices and social determinants of health. And whether that looks like, seeing patients in a clinic all the time, having my own clinic, working for someone else, or doing more of like education events, things like that. I have no idea, but I'm very excited to move in whatever direction that is.
That's so great that you want to give back to your community, Daelyn.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, telling us about your experience, your future plans, and everything that you've done here in your 4 years. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning back into the studio. Mridula, what do you think about the podcast today?
I actually really enjoyed this episode because I feel like I really resonate with the idea of that go towards MD. But my past year here at the Honors College has really taught me how to tie together all my interests and has led me down a whole different path. And I feel like all of that guidance, all of that mentorship that I've received has really changed my perception of both medicine and my career goals.
I agree. I really enjoyed our podcast today. Our conversation was really about balancing and figuring out your different interests and how this community sort of fosters that interdisciplinary exploration. And with that said, don't forget to check out the Honor Roll newsletter and our website, usf.edu/honors, for upcoming events, updates, and news on how you can get involved with our honors community.
That will do it for this week's episode. The Honor Roll podcast is recorded in the Judy Genshaft Honors College at the University of South Florida Tampa campus. Production assistance is provided by honor student Abby Malloy and Professor Adam Davidson. Thank you all so much for listening, and please do not forget to rate and review our podcast. We really appreciate your feedback. Tune in next time where we'll be sharing more honor stories. Until next time, go Bulls!